Hi, Mike Perez with Mastering the Young Band and MikePerezBand.com. This video is going to concentrate on my instrument length sequence that is in my Band Daily Skills, which is my new resource for the young band. The instrument length sequence, let me just tell you what it is. It's tuning. I don't use the word tuning very often with my band. We don't take a tuning note. We don't go, okay, let's work on tuning per se. What we do instead is we use our tuners and microphones constantly during class. So when my band is working on tuning, the answer is they're working on it every day, everything. I try to get my students to look at tuners as much as they can. That way they can see where they are and make adjustments as necessary. For those of you that use microphones and tuners, you know that your students start becoming hyper aware of what their intonation is at any given time. You'll also know how challenging it can be at times sometimes to get your students to just look at their tuner when they're in a nervous situation like a concert or when they're in a performance, like getting to look at it and do something about it. It's amazing how sometimes that can be hard for young band students to do. But regardless, for those of you that don't use tuners and microphones, my biggest advice is find a way to get them. They have transformed the way my students understand intonation and tuning and how to adjust, and they really see when they're out of tune. Obviously, you want to eventually get your students to hear intonation, but with young band students, that can just take a while depending on their musical background. So if you don't have microphones and tuners, I really, really, really recommend find a way of getting them. Talk to your principal, try to find grants, do something, maybe even start off using a class set. That's what I did when I first started getting microphones and tuners back in 2012. I saw a band at Midwest using them. I'm like, I got to get those. And I was able to get some funds in order to buy a classroom set of them. Classroom set has its pitfalls, but it's better than nothing, having a classroom set of microphones and tuners. If you do get a microphone and tuner, I also recommend that you get the tuner caddy. That way they can have their tuners up on their stand and you can really see when they're looking at their tuner, and that way it's not next to their band binder or folder and always falling off the stand. So the instrument length sequence is a sequence I use sometimes. I don't use it every band class. I train my students from day one when they learn how to assemble their instruments, where their tuning slides should be for each instrument, head joints for the flutes, clarinets. We usually start with the instrument pushed in, but as they get older, we do talking about having fingernails width in the joints between like the barrel and upper joint, the upper and middle joint, possibly the bell, just depending. But I teach my students where their instrument should be. And if they are out of tune at the beginning, we talk about it's something that they're doing. It's something with their jaw shape. It's something with their jaw pressure. It's something with their air direction. So I really get my students to play pretty close to in tune on zero with their slides and everything set up correctly. Now, depending on temperature of room, as you know, sometimes stages when you go to a performance or a festival can be different. That's when I use the instrument length sequence. I use it mainly as a tool during concerts and at festivals for students to just get a chance to just specifically look at their instrument length. That's why I do not call this their tuning exercise. I call this our instrument length sequence. I even sometimes call it our ILS. Okay, let's play an ILS. So when I train my students how to play the ILS, we talk about temperature change, how if a room is warmer, it makes our instrument more sharp. If an instrument's colder, it makes it more flat. Sometimes I'll tell mallet instruments it's the opposite. But I just tell them, okay, our room right now is 71 degrees. Let's play and see how you do. And so what we do is I will have a student play their instrument length sequence by themselves. I'll have students unplug their microphone. I'll have their students play those 4 notes, and then we'll talk about it. We'll go, okay, what did you see on your tuner? And they'll go, oh, their first note was really sharp, their second note was really flat, their third note was on zero, and then their last note was really flat. So we'll go, okay, so should we make any adjustments? No, because they're all over the place. Okay, let's have that person play it again. And by the way, I do try to pick somebody that is pretty consistent. Like I'll stand behind the band and have them play a couple instrument length sequences to see who's pretty consistent. And I'll have them play again. We'll go, okay, what did you see? Like, oh, they were generally 5 cents sharp. By the way, you do have to teach your students what all the different lines on their tuners mean. Okay, they were 5 cents sharp. Okay, so they were sharp. What do they need to do? And what you'll see on your student pages as well as the conductor page is it says if your notes are generally sharp, you need to make your instrument longer by pulling it out. If you're generally flat, you need to make your instrument shorter and push it in. And we talk about, you start off with maybe a quarter inch or an eighth of an inch. You start with little chunks. It's not a big thing. Then we'll have another student do it and another student. And we'll do that over the course of a couple of days, just so students see, how much they need to push and pull out, if they need to push and pull out. What I generally tell my second year students is if you are within one line or even two lines of zero, don't adjust your instrument. Just leave it where it is. What we're looking for is more extreme variances in what they're doing. Now, with my more advanced band, my third year players, I say if you're within one line of zero, you don't need to adjust. But if you're more than that, then you need to push in or pull out a little bit. At concerts, what I typically do is I have my students warm up a little bit on their own on stage. We'll play a few concert Fs together, and then we'll do 2 instrument length sequences. And what I'll do is I'll tell my students, okay, we're going to play an ILS, and we play it, adjust if necessary. If you're within one line, or my second band, maybe 2 lines, you don't need to adjust. And then we'll play a second one, and same thing, adjust if you were out a little bit. And that's mainly how I use the instrument length sequence. You will never see me on stage going around with a tuner going sharp, flat, sharp, flat. There's a whole bunch of reasons why that's ineffective, but you will never see me do that on stage. In general, I don't even necessarily do that in class time because we are constantly doing on everything that we do. We talk about intonation constantly on whatever we're playing in band class. So that's what that instrument length sequence is. I encourage you to kind of get rid of the concept of, okay, we're now going to tune. Instead, it should be we are tuning constantly in band class. So again, if you don't have microphones and tuners, really recommend you get it. You can still use the ILS with your band. But what I recommend you would do then is, use some type of drone and have them play. Or you could also project like tonal energy or an app or something onto the screen so students can see what each student's doing. That's another way that you can do it. It's more time consuming that way, but that is another way you can use the instrument length sequence.